Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention?
Great Scott! There's no crying in baseball!
You better hold on tight, Spider Monkey.
This is where the fun begins.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. That's right. We're ranking Jurassic World Rebirth. Jurassic World Rebirth is a 2025 American science fiction action film. It is the fourth Jurassic World film and the seventh film in the Jurassic Park franchise. In the film, a team ventures to a dangerous dinosaur-infested island to retrieve valuable genetic material, only to become trapped in a deadly fight for survival against prehistoric creatures and hidden experiments. I remember when this came out. Look, I am a, I'm a dude. I like dinosaurs, okay? I like the Jurassic, World Park franchise idea, right? Dinosaurs brought back to modern day. It's a cool idea. I'm a guy, my little boy in me loves dinosaurs. So I heard, some of the things said about this movie when it came out, and I wanted to enjoy it, honestly. But even my love for dinosaurs could not save this movie. Let's get into how with the 10 essential aspects of a movie. First is plot. Does the movie follow a comprehensive story arc and is plausible within the world that has been created? Now, we are in the seventh movie of this franchise, and anytime we're talking about a franchise or a sequel, I like to ask the question, does it make sense for you to make this movie? Did you have enough story to tell, whether it's expanding on previous characters or the world that you created, that it was worth making another movie? Or are you just trying to capitalize on the success of previous movies and make some money? And I will say that this franchise has a low standard for me, right? I mean, I'm watching this movie to see dinosaurs. That's it. If it has the word Jurassic in it, I'm looking for the dinosaurs, and that's about it. So you don't need to give me any crazy story that's going to be super gripping, as long as you just give me dinosaurs for the most part. Now, of course, a story has to be somewhat interesting, but there's some grace here on the fact that I just want to see some dinosaurs, so just give me an excuse. And I will say that the foundation of this plot was good enough. Talking about these mercenaries going to this island, being paid by a huge medical company to get blood samples in order to create, this cure for heart disease to make trillions of dollars. Whatever. Good enough for me. I just want to see some dinosaurs, man. So I'm fine with that. That's good enough. But the problem with this movie that makes it feel like it's just made for money is the fact that throughout the rest of the plot, a ton of the movie is just redoing scenes or things that have happened in previous Jurassic Park / World movies. It's just not capable of standing on its own 2 feet. It barely has any original ideas. It's just going off of everything that has already occurred, right? So, for example, I don't know why every movie feels the need to have a flare scene in it. I feel like every movie in this franchise, there's a flare scene. And I know in the beginning it was cool, but on the seventh movie, it's like, why couldn't you create something more interesting, right? Especially in this movie in particular, at the end scene when you're dealing with a certain dinosaur, it's like, you could have done something different. You solved this in a way that it's been solved before. And I just don't understand why you did that. Be a little more creative. Be a little more brave and do something different. On an even worse example, you've got the first movie, right? When they first see a dinosaur, a live dinosaur, you get this herd of Bronchiosaurus that, it pans out and has this beautiful music and this beautiful scenery. It's a really cool scene. It's an awesome scene. It's really memorable from that first movie. However, this movie just does that exact scene over again, but with a mutant version in the same music. It's just inexcusable. It's like, why? Do your own thing. Make something new. I'm not watching if I wanted to watch all of these scenes again, I just watched them in the originals because they were done better. It was the original time. So I'll just watch those. These aren't expanding upon them in any ways. It's just a carbon copy of the scene, but worse. So I just don't understand. There's plenty of scenes where you get that. you have a T-Rex in this movie that is completely unneeded, right? And I know that the success of the first movie was the fact that you had this T-Rex and it was the main villain, right? Maybe to the side of like a velociraptor, but it was really the cool dinosaur in that movie. And it's okay to bring that back every now and then when it makes sense, but 7 movies in, I don't need a T-Rex, especially you're going to a literal island that's supposed to be full of mutant dinosaurs. Give me other stuff, other more interesting and compelling dinosaurs. I don't need a T-Rex. And the T-Rex scene leads me to another problem with this movie, which is the just absurd amount of plot armor. I'm okay with a little plot armor, especially in a movie I'm not necessarily taking all that serious. However, this is like insulting. I mean, you would think that these dinosaurs are just, you would think the T-Rex in the T-Rex scene in this movie is just an absolute idiot. How does it ever catch anything ever? It moves so absurdly slow, right? Like in the first movie, it's chasing a Jeep and is barely keeping up while that Jeep, I imagine, is floored. And then you get the scene where this T-Rex is like basically barely walking, not really understanding what is going on, or it sees what it wants and it just doesn't go after it. It's just insulting, and that's just one example, but there's many examples of parts of this movie where you're just like, what? That doesn't make any sense. Like, you didn't even try and give that like a decent reason. It's just awful. There's so many times that you're just watching characters and you're like, that dude should be dead. That doesn't make any sense. There's no way you survive that. Again, I'm okay with a little bit of it, but in this movie, it's just almost insulting, right? Now, the end of this movie, the end of this plot, it just ends really abruptly. That's another problem I had, was it just ended. And there's some very little relational development here and character development throughout this whole movie, but there is some, right? And they start to piece together a little bit of this like romance between these two characters, and then the movie just ends. And it's like, what was the development for? Like, we went through this movie and people developed relationships and got closer and learned to like each other, and then it just ends. It's like they just, boop, done. And they don't explain any of it. There's no reason for the progression. I don't know if it's because they're trying to make more movies or what, but like, it was awful. Just wrap some of that up a little bit. I mean, it just really seems like poor writing here. I mean, they couldn't even, spoiler alert, okay? Just skip on to the next section if you don't want to hear this. But at the end of this movie, they set up a sacrifice, right? And the emotional depth of this movie is very low, but they can't even follow through on that sacrifice. He's still alive. They go back to save him. It's like, it's so unsatisfying. It feels like the writing was just so lazily put together, and it's almost like they put this movie together and no one watched it. No one could just watch it and identify some of the stupid problems in this movie. It could have been decent, but honestly, they just had so many problems with this plot. It seems like this whole movie was a real mess. Second is attraction. Does the movie have an interesting premise with a high entertainment value? Not really. I mean, normally I would try to, suggest a group of people that I think would enjoy this movie. I just don't know who would enjoy it. Like, kids, probably gonna be pretty bored with this movie. It's not that interesting. And even dinosaur lovers, it's like, this is the 7th one. There's 6 others, and I can guarantee you that there's a couple others that are just better, that are gonna be more interesting to watch. So I don't really know who this is for unless you're just an absolute fanatic of Jurassic Park. Third is theme. What message or truth is a movie trying to convey? There's kind of an idea here about corporate greed, right? You have this like very typical, awful corporate bad guy, and he wants to use this to make all kinds of money rather than save the world. That's kind of it. There's not really any other dilemma here. In fact, they're kind of loose with some of the deaths in this movie. Like, in the beginning, they bring up about somebody died and they're like really, kind of emotional about it. They're like, oh man, that was tough. Like, I can't believe he died. Like, it makes me think about my own life. And then several people in the crew die in the movie, and they just kind of zoom right past it. So they could have had some sort of message about, dealing with your life and stuff, but they definitely didn't. It just totally dropped the ball on that one. Fourth is dialogue. Is there a real feel to the conversation? No, there's not. It's not good. The dialogue is awful in this movie. They just do this weird, I don't know why, they treat the audience like they're idiots, okay? They do this weird thing where they over-explain stuff, and it just makes the conversations not feel real because people are asking questions that, honestly, like, really, you had to ask that? Like, the main character is special ops, and I know that, you know, you don't have to be a genius to be special ops, but you have to be smart, right? I mean, you have to be pretty resourceful, be able to, you know, deduce things and solve problems. And in this movie, she literally asks, why are all the dinosaurs focused around the equator? It's like, why would she ask that? She would clearly understand, like, even just the average person would understand, okay, yeah, it's hottest there and there's a lot of vegetation. That's probably the way the Earth was when they were around. Like, at its simplest explanation, I feel like most people can get that. But this movie feels like they have to add that line in to explain it to you because you're so stupid. And they do that a lot. Like, so much of the plot points, they just over-explain what's going on rather than just trusting that their average audience member is smart enough to deduce why things are going the way they are. And it just makes for a really boring movie because you almost feel insulted by how much they're explaining stuff, and it just takes you away from the movie. It makes them feel like not real characters, that the conversation is not real, because you're like, yeah, no one talks like that. They're only talking like that because they're trying to explain the plot of the movie, and it's a really odd decision, and I hate when movies do that. I prefer when there's a little bit of mystery for you to solve and think about and ask your own questions and answer them through maybe some of the stuff going on through the movie, or maybe just think about it for like 4 or 5 seconds, you know? It's not that difficult, but it's pretty terrible when they do that kind of stuff. Now, comedy-wise, awful. The comedy does not hit in this movie at all. And there is a specific character, there's like this boyfriend character who is pretty much his only reason for existence is comedy. And he's awful. Like, none of his lines are funny at all. And I won't necessarily blame the actor, but the actor doesn't do it any justice either. I mean, it's just, I didn't laugh once. I didn't even smile once. I didn't smirk once in this movie. All of the writing in this movie is just so lazy, and the comedy is so lazy. It is so bad. I don't understand who actually thinks these kinds of jokes are really funny. Fifth is acting. Are the characters convincing? Not at all. It definitely feels like people either got pulled off the street or clocked in for a paycheck on this movie. The only one I'll talk about is Scarlett Johansson as Zora, right? She's our main character. She's kind of like the big star of this movie. And she's just so bland. And her character is bland, right? The writing's not good. So there's only so much that can happen with that. An actor can only work with the material that they have. But, you know, a great actor or actress will elevate a bad product. And she just doesn't elevate it. It definitely feels like she just clocked in and was like, yep, this is a good paycheck. Good enough for me. It just isn't very good. She doesn't do anything to make this character interesting. Everything she does is really just kind of bland and forgettable. 6 is cinematography. Is there a creative use of lighting, setting, and wardrobe to convey emotion? Now, there are moments of cool shots in this movie, right? And when I say moments, right? I can count them on my hand, and they only last maybe a couple minutes, maybe, or less. The dinosaurs look cool, okay? They look good. I liked it. There wasn't any terrible, it wasn't god-awful CGI or green. There definitely was noticeable moments where you're like, ooh, that doesn't look that great. But it wasn't god-awful, and the dinosaurs, for the most part, looked really good. Now, the couple scenes, you had 2 helicopter scenes in this movie. I liked both of them. I thought they were both kind of cool. There's one moment where he kind of finds the dog tags and the helicopter is behind him, up behind him. And it's cool. It's kind of a cool moment. It's like out of nowhere. It doesn't really, it isn't explained at all. It just kind of exists to give that character something. But overall, it was kind of a cool little moment where it was like, whoa, that was out of nowhere. I like that. And the main dinosaur here, the D-Rex, pretty awesome, honestly. I really enjoyed it. I wish they would have just done more with it. Like, it's barely in the movie. It's just at the end for a couple minutes, and then that's it. But I liked it. I thought its design was kind of cool. I mean, it makes sense. It looked the way you thought it would with the guy who directed it, directing Godzilla. You see this and you're like, okay, yeah, makes sense. But he does a good job with it. He does a good job with scale, making this dinosaur feel big and terrifying. And the second helicopter scene with that D-Rex is really interesting. Cool, it's a cool shot. It doesn't last very long, but it's like, whoa, that thing is really cool. I enjoyed its presence, but I wish they would have just done more with it. So the kills that happened with the D-Rex and whatever that giant bird was, I thought they were cool. I thought they were good kills. There's a couple kills that are just forgettable. You don't really care, but then those I thought were kind of, I don't know, interesting. Emotion-wise, nothing at all. I don't necessarily know that they intended to have much emotion. I mean, you can clearly tell who in this movie is just cannon fodder. You know they're gonna die. As soon as you see them in a particular scene, you're like, oh yeah, that guy's about to die. And they do, right? And you have no sympathy for them. You just know that that's what they're there for. And they don't really take any leaps storytelling wise to make you feel any emotion towards the main characters, building a relationship and then having them die. It just doesn't really occur or happen. I don't know if they necessarily intended for any of it, but it definitely didn't convey much emotion at all. Seventh is editing. This is all about the pace of the movie. The movie is 2 hours and 14 minutes long. Way too long. I don't understand. There's been this trend recently of movies being entirely too long. I don't know if it's this weird budget thing where movies are just continuously spending absurd amount of money, but this movie should have never been longer than 1 hour and 40 minutes. It's a very simple plot line about dinosaurs, and you know that people are just watching it for dinosaurs, not the plot. So 2 hours and 14 minutes is incredibly too long, and they don't provide enough substance for that time. Eighth is soundtrack. I can't give this movie any credit, right? I mean, the soundtrack is good, but it's because it's literally all the original music from the first movie that was made by John Williams. I know that there is like somebody associated with the music for this movie, but I didn't notice anything other than what John Williams had originally made. So shout out to the GOAT John Williams for making an absurdly good soundtrack that is so memorable, and it's just used in this movie again, but I'm not gonna give this movie the credit for that soundtrack. Ninth is directing. Now I feel the director is in charge of the previous 8 aspects. They're the ones that have to put it all together, give it their stamp of approval, and make a really good movie. The director of this movie is Gareth Edwards, and this is his 5th film. The 5 total movies he's directed so far are Monsters, Godzilla, Rogue One, A Star Wars Story, The Creator, and finally Jurassic World Rebirth. I personally have only watched Godzilla out of all of those movies, and I really enjoyed that movie. There's a lot of things that I think were done well in that movie that I see in this movie, and just they aren't done well. I will say that there are parts of that movie that I feel like were on the line between being good and not really great, and some of the other aspects save that movie. This movie is like if none of the good aspects were in Godzilla, or the good aspects were significantly shorter, then you get this movie. Because I don't remember the plot being all that great. It was just kind of good enough but to get you back to Godzilla. This movie, it's like the plot's not great, but it's good enough to get you to the dinosaurs, but there's just not enough good dinosaur scenes. I usually don't try to make any sort of judgments on a director until I see 3 of their movies. So right now we're sitting at a movie that I enjoyed and a movie that I absolutely hated, so I don't really know how to feel about how he is as a director. I will say that this is a franchise, so I don't know how much, you know, creativity he was allowed to have. So I'll be interested to watch a 3rd movie and kind of give a good judgment on how I feel about him as a director. 10th is time. Will it stand the test of time? It definitely won't. It is not that good. It's one of the worst ones. I mean, I remember not liking Dominion. Out of the whole franchise, it literally might be the worst movie, or it's close. It's second to worst. It's down there. It's not memorable at all. There's several movies within its own franchise that are so much better. It's just honestly a pretty poorly made movie. Now for the review section. Rotten Tomatoes critics gives it a 50. The audience gives it a 70. And IMDb gives it a 58. I'm probably the closest to that 58 mark, just because it doesn't do things well, and just because a movie doesn't do things necessarily well doesn't mean I'm going to drag it down and give it a god-awful rating, because there's a lot of aspects here that come into play for me in consideration, especially budget, time frame, how complicated is the movie, who all is involved. You know, there's a bunch of aspects that determine how harsh I'm going to be. And I'll say this is a big budget movie that just rode off of all the other movies and really didn't stand on its own 2 feet. And that's just, to me, kind of a crime. It really should be. That just takes points away. Not only is it a bad movie that doesn't execute well, that was going to be in the 60s anyways, but then you copied a bunch of stuff and you're not even original, and I just can't stand that. So it just drops it down even more for me. It's maybe, you know, a high 50 kind of movie, maybe even mid 50s. I wouldn't be mad if you put it down that low, just because I don't know, it's extremely disappointing and it just copies a bunch of ideas. Finally, for the rankings. For the year of 2025, out of 27 total movies on the entertainment side, it is going to be 20th. Just below The Damned and above Novocaine. I've got it below The Damned. Damned is just a little more memorable, a little more interesting. It's not a good movie. I would never watch it again, and I'll be honest, it is getting harder and harder and harder to expand upon this list and put things in specific places between movies. I really do have them in kind of chunks where it's like, this is the category of movies I would never watch again and never let anyone ever watch and should be burned alive. And movies I wouldn't watch again, but they're fine, and movies I would. I just have groups of movies that trying to find little details to put in between makes it really hard, but I do my best. So some of these movies, honestly, you wouldn't hurt my feelings if you put The Damned below it or above it, right? So it's The Damned is above because it's a little more appealing to me, and if I had to show somebody a movie, it would probably be The Damned first, just because it's a little more original and it has some good qualities that I prefer over Jurassic World Rebirth. Now, I do have it above Novocaine. I don't know why, but this movie just makes me so angry, and the longer time has gone on, the more I hate this movie, and I've just pulled it down the list because I just don't like it. It's that main character that I don't know. I can't really explain it. It's just like developing hatred for some reason. Jurassic World Rebirth is just slightly better of a movie, I guess, just because of the dinosaurs, right? Like, I just prefer that. The kind of interesting part of Novocaine with him, all the prosthetic work with him, like being able to take injuries and not feel anything, it just goes away so quickly with me on interest. Like, I just don't care. Once I've seen them, I don't care. Dinosaurs, I guess, just stick a little longer, so I prefer to at least maybe see dinosaurs again. Cinematically, out of 27 total movies, it is going to be 22nd. Just below Den of Thieves 2, Pantera, and above Lilo and Stitch. I have it below Den of Thieves 2. Definitely has a ton of problems with it. Den of Thieves 2 does, but there's moments that I think it's good, and I think overall the plot is a little more interesting than Jurassic World Rebirth. They both have some faults and aren't very good in the execution of the movie, but overall I feel like Den of Thieves 2 is just a little better and a little more interesting and does cinematography a little bit more justice overall. I do have it above Lilo and Stitch. That's just, you know, again, this weird copycat idea where you're just I mean, Lilo and Stitch is just literally the original movie, but worse. And this is just like that, where it's a lot of the original movie's ideas. T-Rex scene, the flares, they even have like their own version of the raptor scenes, the Bronchiosaurus, but it's all worse, right? So they're very similar in that sense, except I do think that Jurassic World Rebirth has some redeeming quality in the sense that you have that like final dinosaur that's a little interesting and a little different. So you're adding some things where Lilo and Stitch just didn't have anything extra that is worth mentioning. For the decade of the 2020s, out of 63 total movies on the entertainment side, it is going to be 48th, just below Frogman and above Novocaine. I've got it below Frogman. Frogman's kind of got like a special little place in my heart. It's not that good of a movie, right? But it's a fun time. You know, it's a cheap movie that was made cheaply, and they knew that, and they just did their best. So it's not that bad. There's moments of it that I really enjoy, and so I can just value those things more and will want to watch them more and show other people those kinds of things, knowing that they are cheaper, going into it knowing that it's going to be a little bit of a stupid story, but you just kind of enjoy it for what it is. I have a better time doing that than watching something like this that's this huge big production that just kind of falls flat on its face. Cinematically, out of 63 total movies, it is going to be 52nd, just below Ghostbusters, Frozen Empire, and above Lilo and Stitch. I've got it below Ghostbusters, Frozen Empire. Again, we've got this similarity here where you're going way too far in a franchise, and you're not, all the interesting part at the end is just really short, and it's not that interesting, and they're kind of banking on the fact that there's stuff from the movie that reference previous movies. They're pretty similar in that fact, except I do think that Ghostbusters Frozen Empire does do a little bit of a better job at being somewhat more original. They're not exactly, they do take some things from previous movies, but they don't copy and paste them all the time. They did try to make some sort of this interesting story, compelling, interesting ghost relationship story that's just different, and I kind of credit it for trying, even if it did fail and was completely uninteresting. They at least tried to give it something for it to stand on rather than just copying the previous movies, and it's above Lilo and Stitch for the same reasons as before. Now, all time, out of 77 total movies on the entertainment side, it is going to be 61st, just below Frogman and above Novocaine. It's there for the exact same reasons as before. Cinematically, out of 77 total movies, it is going to be 65th, just below Ghostbusters Frozen Empire and above Lilo and Stitch. It's there for the exact same reasons as before. It's just a disappointing movie, right? I wanted to like it. I'm a dude. I like dinosaurs. I wanted to like the dinosaur movie. But it's just not that good. And I think what makes me rate it so harshly is the fact that it just copied so much stuff. Like, why do that? I just hate it. Just be original. Even if you flop on your face, at least you tried. You tried something new and interesting rather than trying to capitalize off of somebody else's ideas. It's just, I don't know. It's sad. It's hard to watch. I hate making videos like this. I hate feeling like I'm just this critic that hates everything, but there just wasn't much to enjoy in this movie, even though I tried to enjoy some things. Even just a little bit of dinosaur stuff was just not enough to save this movie. If you have any other movies that you would like me to watch, please drop them in a comment below. I have not been getting to them, but I am now. My next video that's going to come out is a user suggested movie, so I'm going to be rolling through that list and watching and putting some of those movies on to get some diversity in this list and just, I don't know, shake things up and stop doing as much of these movie theater movies alone, right? So please comment and tell me what you thought about these movies, right? That's the biggest thing I take out of these videos. It's what I want to do on YouTube, is just talk, interact with people in the community. If you saw this movie, please put a comment down below what you thought about it. Tell me what you think about the Jurassic Park franchise. Do you like it? Do you think it's overstayed its welcome? Would you like to see another movie, or are you pretty done with it? Did you like the Jurassic World series at all? That's a pretty interesting one. Anyways, I just enjoy the interaction, so please, if you want to interact, please interact. Otherwise, I appreciate you watching. I'm Mr. Majoritarian. Stay classy, San Diego.